Good morning. Genesis 45 and 46. We left last week, and Joseph was testing the brothers to see if they would betray Benjamin into slavery in Egypt. Remember? Just like they had betrayed Joseph into slavery in Egypt all of those years ago, Joseph has hatched this plan and he has put his own vessel for drinking in Benjamin's sack. It's a test. He wants to see if the brothers are the same or if they've changed. And then the chapter ends with Judah coming back to plead on behalf of Benjamin to Joseph. Remember, we talked about this last week. Out of love for his father Jacob and out of love for his younger brother Benjamin, Judah offers himself as a slave in order to save Benjamin. The gospel connections are everywhere. Out of love for his father and love for his younger brother, he offers himself as a slave, just like Jesus will. And upon seeing that, Joseph can see that these brothers are no longer the same. They have, in fact, changed. And this change has made reconciliation possible between Joseph and his brothers. So here in chapter 25, we get this remarkable episode of reconciliation. Joseph breaks down in tears. He dismisses all of his Egyptian officials, and he finally reveals himself to his brothers. And the story says that he weeps and cries so loudly that even Pharaoh's palace hears what is happening. And not only does Joseph reveal himself to his brothers, but Joseph, I think, upon reflecting on his situation and the story that's unfolded, he recognizes the hand of God in all of his own misadventures. This is actually quite remarkable. You think about all the terrible things that have happened in the life of Joseph, and Joseph is able to look back on that and to say, "And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here into slavery, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now, there has been a famine in the land, and for the next 5 years, there will be no plowing or reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant of the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance." Joseph recognizes the hand of God in all of the terrible things of his life, and he sees that as a blessing, as a good thing. So it's all hugs and kisses, and they make up. Joseph says to the family that he needs to come, that they need to come down to Egypt in order to avoid this famine. Pharaoh hears about this, and he says that the family will be gladly welcomed into the land of Egypt. They will get the best pasture of the land, a place called Goshen, and all the best of Egypt will be theirs. And so the brothers go back to Canaan to get their family, to tell their family what has happened. And when they get there, they tell Jacob that Joseph is still alive. And at first, he doesn't believe it. He's skeptical. But eventually, as they explain what happened, Jacob sees that indeed his favorite son, who he thought had died all of those years ago, is in fact alive. And he is, in his old age, he is reinvigorated. He says, "I am convinced my son Joseph is still alive, and I will go and see him before I die." So they all leave Canaan for Egypt, and along the way, Jacob has this vision at Beersheba that confirms from God that this going to Egypt is the right thing for them to do. This is God saying, "Yes, yes, go to Egypt. This was my plan all along." And then we are given a long list of their family, 66 members of the family, as well as the 4 members of Joseph's family. So that's 70 in total. Remember that the plan of God to turn Abraham, this one man, into a great nation. Well, that one man is now 70 people, and it will continue to grow. The plan of God is still very much at work. And we see the family arrive in Egypt, and it says, "As soon as Joseph appeared before him," meaning Jacob, "he threw his arms around his father and wept for a long time. Israel said to Joseph, 'Now I am ready to die, since I have seen for myself that you are still alive.'" It's a wonderful chapter about reconciliation. It's a beautiful picture of reconciliation. It's one of those pictures that sticks in your mind, like the prodigal son returning home. Um, it's beautiful. Now, imagine back to chapter 37, where this story all began with all of the problems in this family, the favoritism, the hatred, the bickering, the nonsense. If someone saw that family, chapter 37, who would have thought that reconciliation would be possible for that family? Who would have thought? But God is in control. That's the message of this story. And God is the master who is weaving together a plan for reconciliation where it might seem that reconciliation is not possible. Think about the fractured relationships in that family. Are they too much for God? Now, think about the fractured relationships in your family. Is reconciliation too much for God? Think about the fractured relationships between the nations of our world. Is reconciliation too much for God? Think about the fractured relationship between us and our Father in heaven due to our sinful nature, the work of our hands. Is that too much for our God? No, no, it's not. God is a good God who delights in bringing about reconciliation. Take that into your day. See you next week.